Am I the asshole for high-fiving a stranger who humiliated my BF? My boyfriend and I go to the climbing gym regularly. He is really into it and I just started and climbing a few times a week. He's stupidly competitive about it and quietly insults beginners who are not as good, which makes me feel self-conscious because I'm a beginner. Last night we were at the climbing gym again and he was doing a V6. There was about 6 people taking turns on the problem, probably because it's a newly installed route and they were all failing. Then a girl came and flashed it. She made it so easy, but at the end she didn't hold the final hold for 5 seconds and my boyfriend called her out after she was done. Holding the last hold for 5 seconds is supposed to be the right way of finishing a route, but she was doing it so easily she definitely could have. I think he was just being salty because she did it when he couldn't. She laughed and told him he didn't even start the problem correctly and walked off. I gave her a high five because she was walking towards me and did amazing at the problem, and knocked my boyfriend off his high horse, and she was surprised but high-fived me. My boyfriend turned to me and gave me a what the fuck look and wouldn't talk to me the rest of the night. When we were heading home he ranted that I couldn't be trusted to watch his back if I chose to take a stranger's side over him. I was shocked that's what he took from the climb and told him she shouldn't have nitpicked her when she clearly climbed it correctly, and he got mad and argued I was supposed to take his side over people I don't even know. Not the asshole. He was being petty, jealous, and a bit sexist, calling her out. None of his business, and she told him off. Not the asshole. Is your boyfriend 10 years old? Not the asshole. If your boyfriend doesn't like being called out on being a petty sore loser, he should stop being a petty sore loser. Not the asshole. Your boyfriend sounds exhausting to be around. Not the asshole. Toxic masculinity ruins the party yet again. Not the asshole. He's showing his true colors by laughing at people who aren't as capable or experienced in what he is, and that's a sign he's forgotten what it's like. Props to you for putting him in his place. He needed that, whether he realizes that, irrespective of if it came from you or not. Am I the asshole for wanting to be paid for babysitting my own daughter? My 39M wife, 34F, and I live in at a suburban house with our daughter, 10F, Emily. Our neighbor next door, 48M, Walter, is a single father with 2 daughters, 14F and 12F. We have been living here for a little more than 2 years. My wife really likes watching scary movies, but I have never enjoyed them. I get too scared and end up having a bad time, so I prefer to avoid them. Her friends sometimes go with her to the more popular ones, but she also likes older, indies and foreign horror movies. She has always had a hard time finding people that have this niche interest, and that is why it was such a big deal when we met Walter and found out he also shares this tendency. They very quickly started to make plans to watch movies together. I was invited to be a part of this but refused. I prefer to just stay at home babysitting Emily and Walter's daughter while they are in their cinephile reunions. Sometimes they go to movie theaters, but other times they just stay at Walter's place watching stuff at his home cinema. They usually have to go to another town in order to catch a specific function of some weird movie, so it is normal for them to come back very late. They eventually started doing stuff outside of watching movies, like going out for dinner. Walter invited all of us, including the kids, to go with him to a restaurant that a friend of him owned, but I said no because it was too expensive. I don't like that kind of places because I feel they are a waste of money and didn't think the kids would enjoy it either. I insisted on staying with the kids and let the 2 of them go be themselves. This has become a regular thing, and it is in a way a good deal for me because Walter pays for my wife's dinner and she can't no longer complain about me not taking her to fancy restaurants. As both their movie and dinner nights had become so common, I have grown a little tired of the burden of constantly babysitting the girls. I talked to my wife and Walter about it, and he explained that he usually does not like leaving his daughters with babysitters. He says he is really comfortable knowing that they are being watched by an experienced father like me instead of some teenage girl. He nevertheless agreed that it was too much a load for me and offered to start paying me a standard babysitter fee each time he goes out with my wife. I thought that was a fair approach to the issue, but my wife was fully against it. She says I should not be paid for babysitting my own daughter nor the daughters of a close friend of our family like Walter. We have been arguing about this, but she insists on this notion and it not open to change. She even gets mad every time I talk to her about this. Walter promised me that he will convince her, but he does not seem to have been able to do so either. Am I the asshole? You are the asshole for several reasons, 2 of which are calling taking care of your own kid, babysitting, and not really caring about your marriage. Don't be surprised if your wife ends up leaving you for Walter, if they're not already having an affair. Your wife is dating your neighbor and you think he should pay you? Oh man, you are the asshole. Walter and your wife might have a common interest, but they've tried to involve you in things outside of that, like going out to eat, and you refused. And now you're complaining about sitting at home and moping and babysitting, which you chose to do. Also, ticking the box of taking your wife out for a nice dinner by letting someone else do it. So you are the asshole. Am I the asshole for selling my house and not renewing the lease of a family with a sick child? Throwaway because I have too many friends on Reddit. I, 47M, inherited a property from my father 11 years ago. For the past 5 years I've been renting the house to a nice family with a young child, 5M. They've been great tenants and there haven't been any issues. A month ago I was approached by a realtor about selling my property. He had a buyer who was interested and was ready to offer $60,000 over market because of the location. This was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. My tenants have a lease through mid-March. I've always renewed every year around this time. I contacted the husband, Michael, and let him know I would not be renewing this time. To say that he was upset was an understatement. It turns out that he and his wife are currently in hospice with their son who has a terminal heart condition. The doctors have given him a month or 2 to live. I knew the boy was sick, but I never knew it was so serious. Michael told me that there is no way right now that they can pack up the house and find a new rental in time. The hospice where they are currently in residence is over 3 hours away, and he thinks it's terribly unfair that I expect him to sacrifice any of the time he has left with their son in order to move. He called me a heartless sociopath. I suggested that they have a family member take care of the packing and finding a new place, but the only family they have around is the wife's elderly father. I'm not sure that I believe this because they are too young to only have one parent between them, and I'm sure there are siblings somewhere. I then suggested they hire a moving company to handle the packing and try to find a rental online, or possibly an Airbnb for a while. He claims he can't afford a moving company because of the son's medical expenses. I feel bad about the situation and realize I'm making things harder for them, but it's not my responsibility to take care of them. I've given them the legally required notice. My wife thinks that because of the money I'll be making that I should offer to pay for a moving company and an Airbnb after they leave the hospice. I don't want to do this because it would cost me a big chunk of the profit from selling the house, and again, their situation is not my responsibility. This is the risk people take when they rent. My wife is now giving me the cold shoulder. So, am I the asshole for selling my house and not renewing the lease of a family with a sick child? Edit. The purchase agreement has been signed. I'm not selling to a developer but to a family that needs to move to the area for their son's schooling. I'll call the buyer and explain the situation, and then, if they choose, they can contact the tenants and make arrangements. It's a tough call. In terms of business, I get it. Greed is a thing. But you can't blame your wife for seeing you differently. You just showed her your true character. Going with my heart, you are the asshole. You are the asshole. You aren't making things harder for them. You are potentially making them miss time with a child who won't be here for long. You are well within your right to do so and probably won't give it another thought once the money hits your bank account. It sounds like your wife is a different kind of person, and good for her. Also, people aren't taking a risk by renting. They probably just haven't inherited homes from their rich daddies. Your humanity only costs $60,000. Good to know. Am I the asshole for making my girlfriend go after her baby daddy for child support and ruining his life? I met my girlfriend on Tinder and we were not exclusive to begin with. We get along great and I thought we had a future. She got pregnant and we were kind of excited to start a family. When the baby was born, it was very obviously not mine. I did not sign the birth certificate. I also did not break up with her. But I also told her that I would not be making myself financially responsible for the baby. We had planned for her to take a year off work to be with the baby. She had already taken her maternity leave. I said she needed to go after the father for child support. She didn't want to because they were friends. I said I understood, but then she had to take full financial responsibility for the kid. I would help her with all the childrearing like changing diapers and feedings and the like, but not for paying for any of it. She agreed. She ran through her savings in about 6 months. She talked to me about helping her with baby formula and stuff and I said no. That isn't our agreement. She called him and asked for money and he gave her a few $1,000s to pay for baby stuff but told her not to contact him again. That is when she understood their friendship, so she went after him for child support. His fiancée found out about the whole thing and is thinking of breaking things off. The child support is enough that the baby will be well taken care of and will not affect our finances. He called her crying because we effed up his life. He said that I could easily afford to take care of them and that I'm an asshole for dragging his life through the mud. She feels terrible about it and blames me for not just stepping up and considering her a single mom. I love my girlfriend and the baby and I have no problem raising the baby. But I don't think I should be held financially responsible when the father has resources and tried to evade responsibility. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. He's the father, he should be responsible. However, if she's going through her finances without thinking about her responsibilities and she initially tried to pin the baby on you, is that not a red flag of potential issues that may crop up? Location flag, location flag, location flag. Proceed with caution op. I suspect you're in for a bumpy road ahead. Not the asshole. It's good that you are willing to be a family with your girlfriend and her baby. And according to you, you could afford to support them. But that does not absolve the biological father of responsibility for the maintenance of his child. And what if, God forbid, something happened to you and you could not afford it anymore? What happens then? All three of you are assholes and none of you should be in relationships nor engaged in childrearing.